recording our press pool. If you had stayed and snagged the next head of household, what would your nominations have looked like? And how important will what happens in this next week be in regards to your jury vote for a winner?
Yeah. Um, I think that my nominations, if I would have gotten head of household, would have definitely been Morgan and Keanu, because I think that those are the two biggest threats in the house right now. I think what happens in this next week is going to be crucial to what happens, and where my jury vote goes, because I think that these next few evictions could make or break people's games. And I'm really, truly going to set all feelings aside and vote for the person that I think played the best game with the most, um, like motive behind their decision, and also as much integrity as they could possibly have.
Kelly went out trying to burn Vince's game. You went out a bit calmer without malice. Did you ever feel compelled to try and burn anyone's game before leaving?
I certainly did. There were several times where I literally had to restrain myself from saying something. Even whenever like I got nominated, I wanted to say, "Congrats, guys! You did it! Like, good job! You got me on the block." Um, there was a lot of times where I wanted to just, make comments, or I even considered too, like whenever I was leaving, I fully planned on saying, "If y'all don't get Keanu out, he's gonna win this game. If you don't get Morgan out, she's gonna win this game." Um, and that they will have my jury vote if because they have played such amazing games, which wasn't isn't necessarily true because I don't know what I'm doing. And like I said, this this next week is going to determine where my jury vote goes. But there was several times where I wanted to burn people's games, but I really wanted to sort of stay neutral, and let people, you know, have their own games and do what they need to do. And also, if I was in that situation, I wouldn't necessarily want that to happen to me, especially with, people I trust. So, yeah.
You once said that Vince, quote unquote, owed you, so you wanted to protect him. Why didn't you straight up phrase it like that when fighting to keep yourself off the block?
I don't know if it just like maybe wasn't shown, but I had several very stern conversations with Vince where, you know, I said, I have made multiple decisions in this game with the interest of both you and me at heart. A lot of times more so Vince than myself, because I was extremely committed to our final two. I made a lot of decisions that could have, you know, resulted very poorly for me, because of me protecting him. And I told him, whatever decision you make is the decision that you want to make, not because anybody forced you to do it, because you wanted to do it. Um, and I told him that I would never put his game in jeopardy, that if he put me on the block, that he would lose me, and that if I went home on his HOH, that I would not vote for him in jury, which I don't know if that was necessarily true. Um, but I was very stern with him, and he still decided to make that decision. So I guess I wasn't stern enough.
Do you regret staying loyal to Vince? Or if you could change one thing, would it be that or something else?
Um, I don't necessarily regret staying loyal to Vince. I do wish that he would have. I felt like a lot of times my words didn't hold weight with him as much as I would have wanted. I feel like a lot of the time we had conversations, especially in the end with the decisions that he had to make as HOH. So I mean, I don't necessarily regret staying loyal to him. I also am not sure what my biggest regret would be. In this game, I think about it a lot. There's a lot of times where, I could have changed something that could have changed the outcome for the better or for the worse. So I can't say that I have any like particular regrets because there's no use in going back.
Looking back, if Vince had picked Morgan over you in the White Locust competition, would that have shifted what you did during your last HOH? Would Vince have ever been a target for you in the double eviction or in the future?
Mhm. I don't think that that decision would have changed what I did for my nominations. Um, I also don't think that I would have targeted him in the future, not necessarily because I wanted to stay loyal to him, especially after he put me on the block. Um, but I knew that if he thought that we still had our final two and that I was loyal to him, even after he put me on the block, that he would continue to hopefully honor that as well and be a number for me, if nothing else. Um, so I was going to honor that and stay loyal to him for as long as I thought it would get me further in the game.
Do you feel betrayed by Vince, and did you truly trust him enough to put your entire life in the game in his hands?
Um, yeah, I did feel betrayed by Vince. He told me 100 times that I was guaranteed safe while, I was on his block. But the only way that you can be guaranteed safe is if you're not on the block. And, he said, well, Morgan's going to vote for you to stay. Ashley's going to vote for you to stay. And then minutes before the blockbuster, I was still begging for their vote. And I don't think that they would have given it to me. And whenever I brought these concerns to Vince the day of and the day before, saying that I don't think I have the votes to stay on your HOH, he would just kind of like look down and shrug. And I was like, okay, do you care if I go or not? Um, I think, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it didn't mean that much to him. I don't really know. Um, I guess I might not ever know.
How did an unemployed man in his mid-30s who relentlessly cries like a teenage girl become your most trusted ally?
That's an insane question. Um, I don't know. I, that is so insane. I, me and Vince, obviously, we made our final two day two. We connected, right away. I think that we were both huge fans of the show, and we had a similar like way of thinking, especially earlier on in the game. He was somebody that I trusted because to my knowledge, most of the information that I gave him and kind of my thought process, it never went anywhere. And I didn't talk much game with many people. I really gave all of my thoughts to him. And because that never went anywhere, he was somebody that I continued to trust. Uh, with my words, at least. Um, in the end, obviously, that trust was a little bit severed. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I I don't know.
What was it about Vince that made you trust him so much? And do you really believe that he would have taken you to the final two over Morgan?
Um, I'm not sure what it was that made me trust Vince so much. Um, I guess it was just like our obviously initial like connection and with our, game conversations, we always sort of thought really similarly, and everything that I told him never really got out to my knowledge. So I guess that trust sort of built, and same thing with him. He would share everything with me, which made me feel like he trusted me. So I thought that I could trust him. Um, I do think that I think that he would have chosen me over Morgan, not for me, but for him. Uh, I think maybe if he had the courage enough to take me over Morgan, maybe he would have. He expressed to me multiple times that he doesn't think that he can win against Morgan, um, and that he would 100% take me to the end. But I mean, I'm sure he didn't think that he was going to put me on the block, and he did that. So I don't know.
You did not touch the block for 70 days. How did you manage to escape the block for that long? And will you be going on a date with Zach after the show?
Yeah, I mean, I think I noticed very early on. I'm like very much an observer, and I noticed very early on that the people that were seeing the block and the people that continued to be targets were people that were huge competitive threats who won lots of competitions, and also people that sort of um, had their hands in many pots and like sort of told people what they wanted to hear and made deals that they couldn't keep. So because of that, I tried to only win competitions that I really thought that I needed. There were a few that I think I could have won and just decided not to. Um, uh, and then, as for like my social game, I really tried to only talk game with the people that I really trusted, and I kept my cards very close. And I think that building those relationships with the people that I really trusted and telling them everything uh, was a good strategy for me because it built strong connections so that they would, insulate me if anything happened. So I think the combination of those two things are what prevented me from seeing the block until day 70. As for Zach, Zach is a great guy. I don't really know what will happen, but I guess we'll see.
Zach and some of the other men seemed to protect you in the game. Was that part of your strategy, or were you even aware that it was happening? And do you think that's the reason you've never really worked with Morgan?
Um, this is really interesting. It's never something that I really noticed per se, but I guess looking back, I can kind of see that like pattern. Um, like I came into this game wholeheartedly wanting to make like a girls' alliance and ride with those girls until the end because it's never really been done. Um, Unfortunately, it just didn't work out like that. Um, I don't know. Sorry, can you say anything about the question about Morgan again? Is that the reason you think?
Yeah, do you think that's the reason you never really worked with Morgan?
Um, I don't think so necessarily. I think every time I sort of like tried to talk game with Morgan, we were on different pages. And first of all, the reason that I didn't trust Morgan initially is because Vince told me that everything he told Morgan would get back to Mickey. And Mickey was sort of a little bit known for talking to everybody. And so that's why a lot of his information got out. And I think that that is part of the reason that he ended up on the block much earlier than I did. So that's why I didn't trust Morgan with my information in the beginning of the game. And I think just again, every time that we talked game, we didn't really have the same perspective. So we couldn't necessarily see eye to eye that way game wise.
And finally, any regrets saving Vince from the block?
This is a tricky question, obviously, because at that time I wholeheartedly trusted Vince. Obviously, I didn't know that he would put me on the block later on, even though he guaranteed my safety. But it is very unfortunate that me saving him was at the expense of one of my very good, very true friends who I think would have kept me safe for as long as he possibly could. Um, so, you know, I do feel a bit of regret, um, a good bit of regret, but I don't know if I would have done things differently.